One of the things you may have noticed with our lists is that they have some default bullet and numbering styles. So we have a solid circle here for the bulleted list, and then when it indents, it uses a disk or an empty circle. And then under the numeric, we're just getting numeric characters here, and they're restarting as we go to the inner list. So you may want to change that. If we look at the unordered list, I'll show you the original way to do this. And this is deprecated. I'm going to show you the new way to do this. But the type might be that you would put a attribute on there and say type equals square. And then for the inner one, we could even do type equals circle, and there's also type equals disk. And essentially that lets you control these. So you can see now this one is square, and this one is circle. If I change that to disk, now we get the filled in disk. So you can control those with that element. And likewise with the numeric lists, if we come in here to the ordered list, for example, and do type, if we do a capital A, that means that it's going to do capital alpha indicators. So we can see we got a capital A here, and we could go to the inner list, and we could do a type equals a lowercase a. And now you can see that that one has the lowercase letters as the indicators off to the side there. Now, as I've said, this is the way that you originally did this. It's since been deprecated. So I'm going to take out the type attribute, because when you think about it, this type information really is stylistic. It's all about the display and the style of your items. And so the preferred way now is to use style sheets. So I might say the class for this one is with square. If we look up at my styles, we can see it's actually square. So an unordered list with a class of square. And we use this list style type now to call that information out. So a lot of the same information, you'll see I have square, circle, and disk. And then for the ordered lists, I have this with alpha, with Roman. And there the list style type matches up, and I have, for example, lower alpha or upper alpha. So if we go back to our lists, let's come back here. So it wasn't actually with square, it's just square. And I could do on my ordered list then, class equals with, and we'll do upper Roman on that one. And then for this one, we'll do class equals with Roman to get the lower Roman case. So now you can see we've got these items going in here. So the outer ones are upper Roman, the inner ones are lower. It looks like I probably had a mismatch on my casing there. So now if we get that right and it matches the style, now we get squares off to the side. So that's your model for indicating the styles for the various lists. Assign them a particular class, and then apply the styles through a style sheet to go in and indicate what kind of list style type you want. Now there's one other item with our lists. As we look at the outline and we have the ordered list, we may want to have some control over the numbering of these items. So for example, we have the ordered list, we have introduction is 1, text elements, lists. Let's say, for example, that we didn't want this unordered list to start with the first character. We could do start equals 5 and indicate that we want to have it start with the 5th character. So if we look right now, it starts with I. If we refresh, now it starts with V for the Roman numeral for 5. Now, this is where things get interesting, because the start tag is available, and there was also a value attribute that you could set, so you could change things around. Both of these elements are technically deprecated in HTML4 and XHTML in the strict document type definitions. I happen to be using the loose or the transitional items here, and so I am allowed by the specification to use those items in here, because I've said that I'm using the loose or the transitional, and that means, as we know from our first module, that it's okay for me to use deprecated items. Browsers are going to know that I might use those things. HTML5 now brings these things back in. So these aren't necessarily stylistic, they're more about the order itself, And so you'll see those being available to start the list or to give a list item a particular value.